My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. All right, this is documentation of the sex offense that the current president of the airport authority is in commission of on a systematic basis, while the Ontario International Airport and every airline engaged in criminal surveillance in the city of Ontario, keeping me under surveillance by using the airlines to engage in gang stalking at this same facilitating venue of Economy Inn, located at 2301 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. Where I am, again, maintaining my presence in the restroom, taking my clothes off, getting in the shower, and I'm describing these details because it's relevant to prosecuting the government that's engaged in criminal surveillance, and also the details pertaining to the criminal activity that commercial airline planes are engaged in while they are engaged in what is crossing path flying in the sky space over me at the hotel, pursuant to monitoring me inside of this hotel. And it's happening at 3 a.m. because I'm getting undressed to get in the shower at 3 a.m. while Economy Inn and all of the gang stalkers at Economy Inn, who are just in my immediate vicinity, sharing in criminal surveillance, which is a sex offense committed by Alan D. WAPNER, a terrorist leader, not a legitimate airport authority, the president of the airport authority. This is somebody that is using their position, abusing it to engage in domestic terrorism, the perpetual sex offense.
psychological torture, and also ongoing harassment of a sexual level as well. Alan D. Wapner, a gang stalker, is very much aware of the documentation that's published on the internet, aware of the documentation, and mentioning him specifically because he's losing his position. And this sex offender is aware that he's been identified and has been engaged in unlawful threatening conduct that's relevant to the government that gang stalks you, keeps your evidence under surveillance, and is also, with what I have done, aware that it has been specifically identified, and it includes this terrorist leader, this sex offender, Alan D. Wapner, who continuously engages in monitoring my vagina, monitoring my moments of personal activity inside of the private space, which is both the hotel and at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm taking a shower, getting disrobed, engaged in personal and private activity, which is when no airport has in Ontario and no plane in Ontario is going to maintain any sort of activity over 2301 South Euclid Avenue over my room, which is now at a different portion of the property, and the entity is maintaining plane activity over my room at the hotel, which is in conformity to the same pattern of conduct. The amplified plane activity is audible noise, and what is the light activity that you already know is present. This is occurring with regard to monitoring. It's pursuant to what is stalking and detailed information about what I'm doing inside of the room. Not a coincidence. Also, where at this property, the fake sun is both rising and setting, where Alan D. Wapner is exposed as a terrorist leader and a violent sex offender, and also mentally ill. This is the social needs status extends to this demon that is in a corrupt position, abusing it for the criminal purposes of the city of Ontario, the state of California. And he is engaged in what is keeping my vagina under surveillance inside of this hotel room at Economy Inn with the people of the state, including the people of the state license KKB 99. This is a documented kidnapper with the same city of Ontario, aided by the city of Ontario and keeping me under surveillance, and also committed kidnapping with this same city of Ontario. We're to date still engaging in that and still obsessed with my genitalia, still obsessed with me getting in and out of the shower and me taking my clothes off, which then causes planes to fly over my room and disrupt my hotel stay, where no arrival nor departure, flight over coming from the airport and arrivals to the airport, it's not going to include flights southwest over my room. Over my room that was at the entrance end at Euclid Avenue, nor over my room that's now at the east end of the property, where the entity is clearly targeting, as I also proved, how the fake sun moves as I move at this property, and how the entity is gang stalking by plane and helicopter where I'm positioned at the property. And it's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? So this is relevant to what the demons who are gang stalking at the venue are also engaged in. The gang stalking demons that are paying to keep me under surveillance by remaining in hotel rooms are also not asleep and are also up paying attention to my vagina, okay? And this is the sort of sex offense that a gang stalking mother is accountable for, is responsible for, and it's relevant to her severe mental illness, including her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, including the gang stalkers that sat in court, defaming my character in anticipation that monitoring me in the sexually violent manners that I'm documenting and detailing was going to result in my having some sort of mental breakdown and not being able to articulate or psychologically handle what is incorporated in gang stalking, which is exceedingly perverted, okay? And it's psychologically harmful. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, and Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison. And so is every other gang stalker that sat in courts defaming my character, targeting me with the government that is providing evidence about what they were doing while sitting in gang stalking courtrooms, defaming me about property that this government never reported to me, never disclosed to me, that is under my name, that belongs to me, while they were trying to steal it from me and targeting me in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, so that they can get away with stealing my property. So this is, again, theft of property that the government commits through the public corruption of gang stalking. And Alan D. Wapner is going to be removed from office for it. Alan D. Wapner is a violent sex offender who is obsessed with this black woman's vagina that he is keeping under surveillance at every venue that I document in the city of Ontario. And the entity is doing it through every commercial airline that you are able to look at on the internet at the Ontario International Airport. Every single last one's engaged in domestic terrorism in the state of California, and which is a national security threat in this country. They're engaged in criminal surveillance, okay? And psychopaths, mentally ill and corrupt actors, corrupt companies and corrupt government officials together are acting in furtherance of that criminal system to engage in things such as gang stalking a woman wherever she's located. And I currently happen to be located in a hotel room at Economy Inn where planes are engaged in what is stalking. the unfathomable and unprecedented basis of stalking in ways in which an American citizen is not typically going to be able to even prove or articulate or reconcile as to why it would be happening, but let alone be able to essentially prove it. So, but for the P.O.C. So I just want to be clear, this is the details relevant to it. It's a sex offense that public officials are accountable for while I remain in the hotel and I'm detailing the pattern of conduct that remains ceaselessly underway. It is going down to the detail of gang stalking, fake friends and family members that have conspired with this government that's targeting to date. It is July 22nd, 2025. It's 3:07 a.m. And the entity is gang stalking all of the hotel rooms from room 101 on the first floor to 121, and on the second floor from 222 to the opposite end of room 246 are engaged in criminal monitoring, the relevant positioning of what is present in the path, and they are stalking in the path by maintaining a hotel room where the business of Economy Inn is engaged in and relevant for facilitating the government's criminal system of monitoring, and that's a federal RICO case against the establishment Economy Inn and the business, the employees of Economy Inn that are monitoring, including third-party license KKB99, who committed kidnapping on September 25th, 2020 with this same local government with the intent to obstruct justice, to try to silence and oppress me while they were doing so pursuant to a fictitious case, okay? Mary Wendy Victor, the 2021, let me give you that case number, where the entity is engaging in what is monitoring me pursuant to the pattern of conduct, which the entity used to engage in monitoring, monitoring, but used to engage in what is kidnapping. So this is the case number because I want you to also be able to look this up. This is the September 25th, 2020 kidnapping that this entity committed, and that case number is Mary Wendy Victor 2000640, which was a fake case initiated by the City of Ontario. The gang stalker that is proven, including under the fake son, at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. The entity that is gang stalking by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, proven to be gang stalking under the fake son that I also documented at West Valley Detention Center. And the entity gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department, proven to also be targeting with the fake son over me at the Ontario Police Department, where they are gang stalking me day and night throughout the city of Ontario under the fake son, which is underway, including at this venue at Economy Inn, both before 2025 and still is the case. The entity engaged in what is kidnapping through a fictitious prosecution, which is also proven through things such as a non-existent district attorney, giving me a declaration of probable cause, initiating the case, and the district attorney is not even a real person, and it's pursuant to fictitious charges. They made up the criminal case, and they used it as a means of keeping me in a facility inside of the West Valley Detention Center, a facilitating venue, to defame me by keeping me in the mental ward uniform, in the mental ward area, where I am on camera on an ongoing basis, holding up signs about being kidnapped, about never committing any crime, about being defamed thereby, on camera, and the entities engaging what is keeping me, denying me court hearings, engaging in what is abuse of the criminal justice system and abuse of the mental health court, which is all a basis with regard to the entity trying to steal my property and artificially engineer mental illness through the criminal conduct of the same city of Ontario. Okay, that has been targeting the entire time. Again, that's Mary Wendy Victor 2000640. The criminal conduct that Jason Isaac Fields criminally cooperated with in defaming my character and stealing my property and my money with his sex partner, Tracy Banks. Okay, this woman that is a mother figure to me, but is again old enough to be his grandma and his mother, and he's having sex with her while feigning to be a friend of mine because he has conspired from the outset to steal money from me, maintaining a prolonged sexual relationship with my mom and gang stalking me at the same time, and attending court hearings about property that this demon never told me about. There's no reason why he should know about it. Understand, it's the evidence of his targeting me, and there is no circumstances where I ever would have told him about it nor given him $1 of my money. He is gang stalking by virtue of being engaged in anything concerning property that was never disclosed to me and that was never given to me, concerning secret court hearings and a secret conservatorship. Everything pertaining to Jason Isaac Fields with regard to my property and what is going on with the state of California is exposing him as a domestic terrorist engaged in psychological torture in furtherance of murdering me, kidnapping me, because this demon wanted to get paid off of my demise. And he has no business having anything to do with, let me just be clear, the gang stalker Eric Corey Spencer is more quote-unquote appropriately engaged in gang stalking me than Jason Isaac Fields, who was nobody other than somebody that had sex, gay sex with group sex with sex rituals with Tracy Banks. That is the only relation. This is somebody that is essentially a stranger that I used to know. He's not a best friend. He's not a romantic past. He's not a romantic interest. He is nobody that is relevant to my life circumstances. He's nobody that is in the past any significant actor, somebody that I used to talk to on the phone, somebody that I abruptly cut off. Like everyone else. His engagement, his detailed and long-term engagement in targeting me is because it is the evidence of his criminally monitoring with the government and abusing his position with the government in doing so. He belongs in federal prison. He's going to federal prison for anything stolen from me, which there is no apology and there is no changing in targeting me or any sort of position that you're holding that's going to change that. There is also no law that is going to prevent him from being prosecuted were he to ever come into my presence and threaten me in my face, in my presence, okay? I just want to make sure that this is clear. Jason Isaac Fields is a domestic enemy, and he's also a violent sex offender, a maniacal psychopath who went to the farthest extreme, like any other domestic terrorist who was a threat to themselves, to women, to children, to American citizens who are unsuspecting of this demon who is engaged in gang stalking, as I'm exposing in the state of California. And this is what the average gang stalker engages in against those that whose lives they're involved in. The government that's gang stalking American citizens does it through those who are in your life, in your social circle, for the purposes of killing you, killing you, and then trying to blame you for it, like you've committed suicide. This is what would be reported on the news, that you were mentally ill the whole time, and perhaps the gang stalking police, they had to take you out because of some threat that you pose, which is, again, the narrative that the gang stalkers themselves control. This is what Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Fields, Eric Spencer, etc. have in the people of the state. The gang stalking demons that I've documented engage in criminal summoning over and over again demonstrate a position poised to be in, to bear false witness about you while they murder you as an entity, while they seek to kidnap you as an entity. And they're obsessed with your vagina, your genitalia the entire time, monitoring you everywhere that you go, obsessed with you, stalking you, psychologically torturing you. This is why Eric Spencer, Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Fields, amongst many others, engaged in what is conspiring with this government that's monitoring me at 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm taking my clothes off and I'm getting in the shower, where there is no traffic from the Ontario International Airport that's going to result in disrupting my hotel stay. In this hotel room at the opposite end, where now plane activity is centered over me, just like you saw on video this afternoon, and what was right over my head at the position where I'm located at the property. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. That's 7 hours after you saw the sunrise at this same property, where UPS, a commercial plane, is flying southeast over my head at this property, as though it takes 7 hours to be in the middle of the same building at the same property, and it's over me 7 hours after a documented sunrise. That's where the entity is gang stalking by planes at 3 o'clock in the morning, because the demons are monitoring my nudity. They're monitoring my vagina. They're monitoring every body part that I wash in the shower, monitoring my physical movements in this hotel room. And so is every demon, sex offender that is maintaining criminal presence in the path at this facilitating venue, which is the corrupt business practices of the people of the state, maintaining a hotel in relevant position. That's the economy end. So I want to make sure that it's documented. It's going directly to the criminal engagement by Alan D. WAPNER, who would pose as a threat to the public while he remains in position as the president of the airport authority, facilitating surveillance and sexual violence and public corruption, while airlines are used as a means to both profit from domestic terrorism and also facilitate it in a malicious manner, okay? Because you're not supposed to be aware of stalking through commercial planes, that the airports in California are used as a means of targeting American citizens, and using airlines as a means of targeting Americans. You're not supposed to be aware of all those details, and that's where the malice is there. But this is very obvious what the entity is doing with regard to what's tailored to and related to the Ontario International Airport. What they publish on the website about arrivals and departures, none of them include what's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning, and none of it's going to include hovering in any elevation where you would hear plane activity, let alone see it, and flying what is southeast over my head at this property. And it's also related to, and logically going to be related to, an overall investigation where the fake sun is rising and setting, which is supernatural, in conformity to a documented pattern of conduct, because this satanic system is that which you must prove because of the government's public engagement in targeting American citizens in a satanic manner through psychopaths, violent sex offenders, and pedophiles who have sex with fake friends of mine like Tracy Banks, and fake friends who are demon-possessed, targeting me in order to steal from me by having sex with my mother like Jason Isaac Fields, okay? It's currently 3:16 a.m. It is July 22nd, 2025. This is P.O.C. It is 8:50 a.m. and the demon-possessed that are gang stalking with the government that uses to stalk and monitor me, including my genitalia, planes and helicopters to follow me around, and are doing the same at Economy Inn, are engaging in the pattern of conduct at the same venue, and doing so through the amplified sound of everything that they're doing. So while I am subject to the pattern of conduct, the ongoing vibration of the floor, vibration of, amplification of audible activity in the form of plane activity is a method of demonic noise creation, okay? The people of the state are doing the exact same thing when they're walking, when they are driving, okay? Because the entity amplifies the sound of traffic. And doing the same thing when they're, for example, opening and closing their doors. This is the iteration of the pattern of conduct that I'm documenting at every hotel that I stayed in. And July 22nd, 2024, I am documenting the pattern of conduct as I am, I had already submitted my resignation to the gang stalker speaker companies that was engaged in the pattern of conduct in the workplace. That was the entity targeting me as the employer and as a resident, while I'm subject to the pattern of conduct at Alvarado Gardens, okay, where LAPD's gang stalking. So I am, in 2024, documenting the fake sun remaining over me as I am living at Alvarado Gardens, and then I move from Alvarado Gardens, and you will watch the fake sun as I document it, going through traveling in Southern California, remaining in hotels, and the same pattern of conduct that Economy Inn and the city of Ontario is engaging in is what the state of California is engaging in as I go to Monrovia, as I go to Arcadia, as I go to Las Vegas, Nevada, as I go to Costa Mesa. And the entities engaging in this P.O.C. Amplified audible activity is the entity that is targeting, okay? And it is relevant to what is a sex offense that it is simultaneously admitting to and committing while the government is engaged in keeping a woman under surveillance in a bathroom inside of a hotel room and in the hotel room itself. All right, license 8LAK763, and the entity is covering up its fake sun. I already captured the fake sun rising here at 7:16 a.m. I captured the fake sun over me at 9:32 a.m. on video. I walked through the entirety of the parking lot, and the fake sun remained over me from the east side into the west side of the property, into the entrance at Euclid Avenue, where I'm also capturing the fake sun on video at 12:52 p.m. at that same entrance, and the fake sun is remaining over me. I've already documented the entity keeping the fake sun in images throughout the day, and also I captured the fake sun on video after 7 p.m. So the entity is engaging in what is, this is not the weather, okay? This is the entity that's engaged in gang stalking and is engaging in gang stalking while the people of the state are acting with the intent, exhibiting severe mental illness, and the same pattern of conduct is underway by the demons who are stalking in the specific environment while they are targeting exactly in the same manner in that engineer light, which is maintained, as I've also documented. The P.O.C. remains underway while the entity is targeting with engineer light that's merely a different shade, for example. I've captured the engineer light that is a gray shade while it's equally impossible. I've documented engineer light, for example, inside of Tracy Banks' apartment on a cloudy day, and you will see the exact same engineer light framing her front door. It's not the product of sunlight. It's not the product of what is gray skies outside. It is stalking with impossible light, and that's exactly what the demons are doing while they're monitoring evidence, and they are already surrounded with an insurmountable body of evidence. A prosecution is going to be a prosecution. The entity waking me up right now with amplified audible activity, I'm going to document the sex offenders engaging in that P.O.C. license 9SCM182. And the entity that's monitoring the evidence has the third party that was obviously engaging in what is requesting to be identified, and that's why the sex offender was at the entrance digging in his trunk with the red vehicle, the red SUV that I documented gang stalking in 2021. The entity is aware of who's documented, and this third party is intentionally present and wants to be present based on the entity that already knows who was documented. So remember, the entity is not acting as an individual. This same individual that knows that they were documented, this property, this establishment, is having this third party return to participate in the pattern of conduct, okay? In other words, having an old employee returned to engage in the documented pattern of conduct that I captured. And the pattern of conduct isn't relying upon any one individual. It's an entity, and the entity uses the thousands of people to engage in the pattern of conduct. Nonetheless, the same sex offender license 6JZE097 is engaging in the P.O.C. like I documented in 2021. All right, license, the same Texas plate, GW08HV, license 23103U1. Oh yeah. License plate 9EKC937. And it is currently, by the way, 8:56 a.m. License 5AMV963. Excuse me, 5AMV693. 8LAK763, 9THF425, 8CIG614, 8KDE541, 3TBG137, 9PFT944, 9NWC457, EE94Z99. That's the third party. That's a kidnapper with the paper plate on their white Toyota van. And so is KKB99. This is a documented kidnapper that's engaging in the pattern of conduct at the same venue, at the same establishment as an entity, and with the City of Ontario and 9GTD454. This is the entity that's gang stalking as employees. And the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. while I will capture the pattern of conduct. The entities, they're a bunch of demons that are intellectually inferior, all of the demons together. And they're also inferior with regard to being a defendant as I prosecute them on the internet and as I'm going to prosecute the government in federal tribunal. So the entity is engaging in what is this momentary, what it considers to be, it's not an aversion. It's evidence of what is surveillance of the pattern of conduct. And the ability to have what is not necessarily a fake sun over a venue for 12 hours is the ability to cover up. This is your witnessing what is demonic and enlightening you about the illusion that Satan presents, what is demonic activity in the demon-possessed population, and that's never forgotten. So you've already witnessed it, and the entities engaging in this POC, while you are always mindful of the big picture, LAPD's gang stalking, and as I move from Alvarado Gardens, the entities following from city to city, hotel to hotel, with the fake sun, and the people of the state are gang stalking just like they are at Economy Inn. And not only that, the entity is engaging in what is monitoring evidence. This is how the coverage of the fake sun documentation is going to be treated, because that's exactly what it is. That's like trying to conceal the weapon that you committed the murder with. This is what the entity is doing while their demon possession, their criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring is not hindered, while the fake sun remains just that, and stalking with engineer light remains underway, and criminal surveillance remains underway, and the fact that a bunch of demons who are mentally ill and are violent sex offenders are engaging in that, and the identification of it is not going to be the inability to identify it or document and prosecute for it, because those demons are then concealing it. And as I've also shown, the entity continuously engages in gang stalking, even as the fake sun is concealed, covered up, subdued, okay? It is 8:58 a.m. and I will document what I'm getting to is that I'm still going to document the fake sun in the morning, like I already have. And this is the entity that's just engaged in what is, we're going to cover up the fake sun right now while we engage in whatever iteration of the P.O.C. And because the entity is so unhinged, number one, and also imprudent, unwise, not very much the brightest. The demons are obsessed, the demons are addicted, the demons are engaging in what is corrupt, and they're also engaged in what is, I'm still going to capture actually an image of the gray skies. The demons are more addicted to me than they are concerned with what's going to be prosecution severe consequences, and I mean from the government, public officials, to those, again, the entities concealing evidence from me, trying to steal property from me while I've been gang stalked for years. This is all relevant to what the entity is still engaging in. While the entity practices this, the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. And is doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. And while I am documenting, that is not slowing justice down. Okay, the entity is delusional. The mental illness of those that are gang stalking is also fully supported and proven through their own pattern of conduct that I've documented in order to prove the government's criminal monitoring system in the first place. And it's also relevant to the diagnosis of mental illness, including while the fake sun is then covered up, as it's not the weather. This is not the operation of the weather, and this is revealing all of that which surrounds all of us, okay? So while the fake sun is covered up over me in Ontario at Economy Inn, because it's necessarily more than one sun in the city of Ontario when I'm documenting it remaining over the Ovitt Family Community Library from morning until evening in Ontario. Remember that. It's also speaking to what's still the specific environment while you're in Florida, and it is perhaps a sunny day, and the fake sun is covered up over me and at Economy Inn at a venue in Ontario. It does not change the pattern of conduct that we are all aware of is underway in this country, okay? The entity is highly delusional. The illusion of the seasons and the weather and how it's affecting the environment and the climate, these are theories that have absolutely nothing to do. They are totally irrelevant to what I'm showing is an entirely fake environment. The sun, the light, that's supposedly the product of that sun, and the activity that's happening in that environment. And we've been given a lot of reasons and explanations that are insufficient, and they're also not only insufficient, but they're illogical. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the environment, and that is to keep your mind deceived. That's to keep you distracted, and that is to condition your thought process, all right? But anyway, I'm going to capture the specific environment, and I will also capture what is the fake sun, which you're seeing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The demons that are gang stalking and monitoring my device, they're stalking in rooms 235, 236, and closure and opening of the door is simultaneous with my communication device that I'm using as I access my camera. The entity is engaging what is stalking in the path, opening and closing their doors, which are demons that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. Crossing path is the same pattern of conduct that I'm documenting, and this is what they're doing in the parking lot while they're monitoring together. And the entity that's gang stalking as a population doesn't have to address you. So I just want to document the rooms adjacent to me are the ones where they're using their doors as a means of simultaneous audible activity. This is what the entity is doing when I'm naked in my room and playing activity is simultaneously occurring while they're all monitoring my vagina together, okay? This is where you're going to prosecute the business that's engaged in sexual violence, the business that's engaged in stalking, the business that's engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, on communication devices. A bunch of demons are sitting around in hotel rooms, and they are engaging in like they're all hidden because the fake sun over them while they're all stalking me is subdued today. That's exactly what's going to put psychopaths and sex offenders and stalkers in the appropriate facilities, okay? It's currently 9:03 a.m. where you already know the fake sun is here. I've already captured it here. And you also know the fact that it's here, the entity is still engaged in that P.O.C. 9 o'clock in the morning. However, the entity is keeping the fake sun in 2024 in a manner that's entirely impossible to ever state is within a natural environment, and that's relevant to the surveillance that I'm exposing. In a natural environment, the sun's never going to be over Economy Inn, and it's also never going to be over Economy Inn for 12 hours. But this is what I already have on the record. In addition to that, what I'm documenting a year ago and what I'm documenting at this time of year last year, and the body of evidence which is existing not only last year but 2023, 2022, 2021, etc., showing the ongoing consistency of the specific environment where the state of California has been targeting me. Okay, big pictures at 2024, what LAPD is doing is merely showing what a government in a different county is engaging in, including as I am employed, but not only that, as I travel in my vehicle, and the entity kept the fake sun over my car as I travel from city to city and county to county, and multiple police departments and sheriff's departments that are maintaining the same gang stalking tactics by commercial planes and helicopters under a fake sun, while a population of demons who are currently hiding under a subdued fake sun are engaging in that P.O.C. All right, this is what's on the record. All right, maintaining presence at a venue as a patron at a hotel is exposing the federal RICO case against the government that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. All right, it's currently again 9:04 a.m. You're looking at stalking in the path by accessing another hotel room, and this is the conduct that's not going to create any vibration, no earthquakes inside of my hotel room. This is how the demons, when I'm inside of my hotel room, are engaged in targeting, just like they are now while I access my phone, because I have more than one. And so as I access my camera, this is where simultaneously the demons around me are closing their hotel doors when they're all acting like their doors were closed in the first place. Nobody's door is open, but more than one door is closing as I access the camera and go back to using this phone You don't know what I'm doing, but that's what I'm doing on my other phone. I'm taking pictures, and I capture video. As you can listen to me and capture at the same time, I do that so that I can maintain as ceaseless interruption on the podcast as possible. And so while I'm operating my other phone, the demons are monitoring that, okay? And that's the door closure of the demons that are gang stalking at the hotel. Anyway, just want to be clear, this is what the entity is doing, and covering up the fake sun doesn't change their behavioral pattern, which is exposing mental illness, and that's the effect of demon possession on human beings that are engaging in the pattern of what is psychologically harmful to another, targeting and sexually perverted manners, engage in all manner of extreme methods like the government and state of California has. They want to engage in, as demons who are mentally ill, stalking you in planes and in helicopters, using ambulances and even fire trucks, using the departments of government to engage in it, when these resources, these departments are there for purposes that are legitimate and are supposedly vital, and the entity is taking off time and reserving it for targeting me. That's an entity that's engaged in severely mentally ill. 23103U1, crossing path in the vehicle. After crossing path on foot, they're pacing. And they are engaging in what is severely deranged, but it's also addressed as public corruption, which the feds are identifying while the government is gang stalking with the people of the state. Okay. So anyway, I just want to break that down. The entity is engaging in what is disrupting sleep, and it's relevant for because you will see the fake sun in the morning, like you've already captured on video, but you're mindful of the entity that's fake stalking by the Ontario International Airport at 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. The fake sun's not over my old room at this same property. And this is getting beyond, you already know that they're gang stalking. You're going to witness the level of stalking as the fake sun remains over the room that I'm inside of at this venue. And that's how detailed they are with regard to what's going on with my vagina as well, okay? What the entity is doing with regard to the pattern of conduct, the entity is engaging in that level of sexual violence and obsession and concern with my genitalia between my legs. And there's no public official that is paid to maintain that level of surveillance or any kind of surveillance that I or any American citizen has consented to. All right, but this is what criminal monitoring is about, and it's demonic, and it's also sexually perverted. All right, it is currently, again, 9:07 a.m. Demons coming out of their hotel rooms monitoring. Engaged in federal stalking includes 9THE425 coming out of what is their hotel rooms, engaging in that pattern of conduct as an entity, monitoring while they are doing so on behalf of the entity that is relying on the presence of third-party and corrupt businesses that are engaging in federal stalking. So you're going to see that at 9:07 a.m. Stalking in the path is accomplished under my hotel room. Presence in the path and ongoing use of communication devices where they're studying their devices. This is what you'll recognize with regard to the pattern of gang stalkers. They do this while the fake sun is shining, and they're doing the same exact pattern of conduct while they are stalking with light, all the same, and engaging in what is what's supposed to be unsuspicious, accessing their vehicles, studying their devices, not speaking to you, not addressing you, not in any sort of relationship with you either, and they are exposed as being engaged in gang stalking. License 8CIG614, and closing the trunk is a means of activity while they're pacing around the vehicle and stalking together. Okay. This is activity creation, what you're seeing in the parking lot. I'm capturing it in images at the same time. It's 9:08 a.m. And remember, the entity that's engaged in kidnapping on September 25th, 2020, it's relevant for federal prison while they are still profiting off of gang stalking, which this establishment is useful for. These are the psychopaths, by the way, that are engaging in what is gang stalking, not addressing you, and having no basis to. Because what are you going to say? Hey, why are you filming me when I'm not talking to you, and you're not talking to me, and you're not looking, so you're feigning ignorance about my presence, and you seemingly are concerned with something else, but then you're making mysterious reports about me recording you, which is also an assumption about what I'm doing on my device. This is what the entity is doing while it's gang stalking. It is an admission to targeting. Stalking is license 8CIG614, including while they're remaining in the hotel room, all right, which is relevant to the federal RICO case. License plate 8THF425, all right? Pacing as they leave the property. Engaged in federal stalking and monitoring my vagina in concert with the City of Ontario, which Alan D. WAPNER, okay? The government that's engaged in what is monitoring using the Ontario International Airport as a means of explaining why planes are hovering over my hotel room or over the hotel building at all. At any level where you would hear planes, where you would even see the planes, and that they would be flying southwest doing donuts over the hotel building. Yeah, the hotel building that has the fake sun for 12 hours a day, the hotel building that has inexplicable light all over it and inside of the hotel rooms, is the hotel that's identified as a third party, not a private business, engaging in state surveillance, which is relevant to public corruption in the federal RICO case. This is exactly what Starbucks is engaging in. This is exactly what Aveneth Capital Management's engaged in. This is exactly what Speaker Companies engaged in while I was working as the property manager, where I was under surveillance on the job, and interfering with my liberty right to maintain employment and be free from terrorism. And then the entity that's gang stalking with the intent to steal my property through psychopaths and sex offenders, gang stalkers like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields and Eric Corey Spencer are simultaneously in court hearings that I know nothing about concerning property that was never disclosed to me, and stating that I cannot hold employment, which is a lie, even as LAPD was gang stalking me on the job. But nevertheless, their substance of their perjury is that I'm not holding employment, or that I am incapable of taking care of myself for whatever defamatory purposes serve their narrative, while I'm documenting the pattern of conduct the entire time. Okay, they're going to federal prison, and the people of the state that are gang stalking as a population, stalking while I'm inside this hotel room, are providing an ongoing body of evidence with regard to the true motivations of those targeting me in those courts, all right, in those courts, using defamation with regard to theft by the government to steal property, and the entity that is targeting in every city, every county, which is shared by the state of California, which is what I'm also documenting in 2024 when I leave Alvarado Gardens and I go to Courtyard by Marriott in Monrovia, Town Place by Marriott, Fairfield by Marriott in San Diego. I'm going to Courtyard by Marriott in Nevada. I'm going to the Motel 6 in Pasadena, and I'm showing you the identical pattern of conduct, the inconsistent maintenance of the specific environment, which is the consistency of the evidence, the inconsistency with regard to what a natural environment dictates, showing targeting in that environment. Covering up the fake sun is also identifying targeting. Okay? It's also identifying surveillance on devices. The demons and the stalkers know that the fake sun has been documented and published, and that's never going to stop the federal prosecution. It's relevant for identifying surveillance by that entity that's keeping the evidence under surveillance, in other words. All right, and so I want to make sure that's clear. Mobile at 2315 is gang stalking every employee and everybody on the grounds of that venue. Everybody engaging in transactions with that venue is monitoring me and monitoring my vagina. And that's the corruption, the sexual violence of companies, the stalking criminal conduct of companies where they're gang stalking with the government, and they are doing so while they're keeping evidence under surveillance and covering up the fake sun that I already documented over your venue, over me, at 11 o'clock in the morning, and again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, is what is evidence that's going to serve for what is the entity pattern of conduct built into it is obstruction of justice. The government that's targeting American citizens is engaging in that criminal system with the intent to avoid being exposed. This is why they're gang stalking, and this is why they're engaging in kidnappings. This is why the Ontario Police Department is subject to disbanding. That level of malicious intent to conceal while you're targeting and psychologically torturing an American citizen that you're stalking as a bunch of demons at that, and you want to secretly target them and keep them from telling anyone. This is why you are understanding the consequences as they are, as they exist. It's 9:13 a.m. It's July 22nd, 2025. The entity is indeed covering up the fake sun. That is already on the record. So this is also when you're recognizing the body of evidence as well, because you're not looking at what's happening just this moment in time. The entity is always engaging in the same P.O.C. of stalking with the elements of light, presence, and audible activity. And they're also doing that with regard to knowledge of what you know is happening. That is within the documentation over a course of time, which is how you're going to get the pattern of conduct with a corrupt government. Okay, that's relying on you to just look at this capsule, this moment, as though you're looking at it in a vacuum, and you're not. Okay, the entity is engaging in what is public corruption, and public corruption is happening in plain view. It's right in front of your face, and it's also that which is recognized more and more clearly in the aggregate, meaning the more evidence that you're looking at, meaning the pattern of conduct that's documented upon my arrival. For example, at around July 16, 2025, the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and it was July 15th when I'm arriving, and you can look at the body of evidence from July 15th to the present July 22nd, and there's already evidence of the fake sun remaining all day long. Covering up the fake sun is evidence of the entity knowing that it's been exposed. That's what that's relevant to. It is under no circumstances evidence of the pattern of conduct not being underway, okay? And you're also aware, because of the nature of this criminal system, you are witnessing the creepy demons engaging in what they would like to do secretly, as you're aware that it's not the operation of the weather. And you have people that are employed and calling themselves meteorologists, and they're talking about a whole demonic environment that is also, as you're aware, the P.O.C. doesn't even make any sense, and it's incongruent with what I've documented as well. But yet you have those that are referring to themselves as identified careers. Meteorologist is literally somebody that studies, and nobody is studying what I'm exposing, because it's built into the pattern of conduct that the government is practicing in this country, and to keep us conditioned. It's relevant to propaganda in the United States, where the government's engaged in surveillance. All right, understanding the purpose of the environment, concealing that environment, and it's already been exposed. The whistle has already been blown. The fake sun is evidence of a whole population of sex offenders and stalkers who are demons that did not want to be identified. And these demons are not only being identified and embarrassed, they're being prosecuted. And it's relevant for prosecuting under a federal RICO case. It's relevant for prosecuting for theft of property, intellectual property, stealing from the targeted individual, because the entity is engaging in surveillance on the internet, meaning you are targeting me when you are in any part of this country and you have stolen my information, my intellectual property that I'm publishing online in order to enforce my rights against the government. That's a form of gang stalking as well. You're not coincidentally stealing something from the target individual that's subject to this oppressive system. It's the entity that is also targeting. Surveillance is underway on the venue of the internet, and it's not a freedom of, it's not freedom of speech by private individuals online, because the government's pattern of conduct is underway online. It's also not coincidentally happening. These are demons that are aware of what's being exposed about them, and they are also so addicted and obsessed with me. They've even stolen my ideas, which is serving to prosecute them, but they've used it to for their own purposes in order to profit from it, which is also, again, the admission of the gang stalkers. Okay, I will be prosecuting for all of that, and it is relevant to the unlawful threat that the entity has posed as a domestic terrorist, and one psychologically torturing me while stealing my intellectual property, making money off of it, while I'm kept subject to this pattern of conduct. Okay, and those that thought that they were just going to benefit off of a payday from it, they're going to prison for it. Okay, but nonetheless, it's currently 9:17 a.m. This is 2301 South Euclid Avenue, and you can look at the body of evidence as of July 15, 2025, and that's just 2025. Economy Inn is documented under the fake sun, stalking with engineer light inside of my hotel room with the state, which is the city of Ontario, while I'm in the city of Ontario, and this is historic evidence that I captured well before 2025. Okay, covering up the fake sun that is already here is the entity that is under no circumstances ceasing to engage in criminal monitoring. This is P.O.C. I am capturing engineer light that's inside of the hotel room through a crack in the door, which is impossible light activity. It's the illumination of light, and the entity is engaging in stalking and light in that manner. The entity is maintaining light activity also through artificial light. Remember, every form of light is occurring in the environment that's engineered. Okay, engineered meaning it's this is supernatural, inexplicable light activity. This is created for the purpose, for the criminal purposes of the demons who are in it. And you're not supposed to be aware of demons. You're not supposed to be aware of the status of this light and the environment around you. All right, this is engineered. It's specifically made for this covert system, which is no longer a covert. Okay, and so this is why I use the terms that I use, and this is why I'm also able to consistently apply them, because it's a consistent body of evidence showing a pattern of conduct that the government is engaging in. None of these are individuals. It's all state action. And so while gang stalkers are staying at the hotel, it's a prosecution of that venue, which is how American citizens who are subject to the satanic means of targeting are able to enforce their rights against this capitalistic means of engaging in public corruption and state surveillance with the government. Okay, and these demons that are engaging in these corrupt means of business are doing so under the guise of being private citizens and having constitutional rights and maintaining, but that's all exploitation of the Constitution. The P.O.C is showing it is underway, and it's doing it through under the mask of the name of that company and the employees of that company and everything concerning that company. That's relevant to a federal RICO case. It's racketeering. There's federal laws that they're violating while that business is underway, and that federal violation of such laws are relying on that business operation. Like, it's intertwined. It's intertwined. Everything you're stating pertaining to what it is that you're talking about on your job, training, it's all audible activity. You're monitoring at the same time. All right, and this is how you're getting to the crime of monitoring, which is surveillance, okay, by the government, and the crime of laundering drug money, okay, that's also a crime. The entity's engaging in the crime of criminal surveillance through the businesses in the state of California, and this is just a means of dipping into the profits. This is a means of criminalizing and punishing through civil damages, draining the pockets in a manner that is designed. Justice does call for something that would be destructive to such gang stalking businesses, not only by their reputation, but the loss of profits for facilitating violence by the government, and then doing it in the face of those while they want to make $1 off of you, okay? You're charging me for coffee while you're gang stalking me at Starbucks. Okay, you're charging me for rent while you're gang stalking me in my apartment home, at my complex. Okay, you are, as an employee, you are paying me a salary while you're both targeting me on the job, targeting me through my coworkers, and targeting me through those that I am, who are subordinates under me, or whatever the details of your employment are. They're targeting you simultaneously while this capitalistic construct coexists with it. It's breaking down all of this superficiality that surrounds the same exact bare bones engagement in gang stalking in the United States, and I'm in California. And if it's happening in California, it is happening in corners of the country where nobody knows that people are suffering and that they're subject to inhumane means of targeting in state facilitating venues and amongst the population of demons that are targeting. All right, and so in a big state, a big popular state like California, this is underway, and it's happening in places like Oklahoma and Mississippi and Alabama and Minnesota. This is the pattern of cunning that's happening throughout the country. Okay, so it is currently 9:21 a.m. I just want to make sure that you're clear on the bigger picture. And covering up the fake sun is evidence of surveillance of the documentation. All right, and this is also relevant to what is the exact same pattern of cunning that you remain subject to, because the natural environment is stating you're going to hold the demons to the ridiculousness that was documented, because you have a fake sun sitting over me at this hotel, another venue showing how the pattern of cunning is underway throughout this entire state of California. Every business is engaged in federal stalking. All right, they are held to that, and so a cloudy day doesn't mean that the fake sun went to a different state and just engage in a total change in what it's doing tomorrow. Oh, no sunrise today, no sunlight today. We're just going to have an entirely cloudy day, because the sun that's covered up in the sky means that there's no sunlight anywhere, and it is utter darkness. Only when the fake sun is present is there the evidence of any daytime any evidence that it is daytime, because daytime is equated with the fake sun hovering over the venue wherever you're at, and the equated with what is the engineer light that's covering everything. And even that's not logic. The sun does not have to be directly over you for you to be able to recognize that it's daytime, that it's clear skies. The entity goes to these extremes. It's either covered up totally in clouds, or the fake sun is shining. And the entity does have the fake sun in the sky and tries to cover it up with the clouds over that fake sun. But the entity goes to these extremes, and both of them is the absence of logic. The entity is stalking with a fake sun and relies on this system in order to maintain surveillance in this country. Okay, surveillance is satanic, and that satanic environment is demonstrating what is surveillance that's underway, and it's directly pointing to the government that's engaging in surveillance and the civilian population. And the entity exercises this failure in syllogism that the fake sun that's not hovering over the property automatically means that the skies are fully covered up with clouds, and that there's no light outside, meaning it's a down, dewy, gray day. That's what the extreme that the entity goes to, and that's also not the case. This is a totally engineered environment, and it's demonic, and it's also very asinine. The entity is not intelligent at all, okay? Stalking with the fake sun is just that, and you do not have to have the fake sun over you in order for there to be the presence of like daytime and a clear sky, okay? The entity is engaging what is conditioning you to accept what is this light, which is the presence of what is the sun, and that's the sun that's sitting over all day, and that's the reasoning for the light that's covering everything all day long. And that's also not, it's the evidence of stalking with light, where surveillance is underway. And it is also underway when the entity is covering up the fake sun in the way that I'm documenting, because the engineer light is gray. The entity is still stalking with regard to the behavior of the demons, the psychopaths that are stalking with activity, stalking as a population, and they're still stalking with light in the ways that I'm documenting as well, using vehicles, using signage, using aircrafts, all manner of stalking with light, including which is remaining in the environment, gray colored engineer light, the entity that's maintaining that engineered light in all different manners of concentration of color is what I'm stating. And the artificial light, for example, the lights inside of the hotel room, the lights on the buildings outside, this is creating light activity as well, because it's happening in the engineer light. Light bulbs themselves that you buy at the store and whatnot, they do not create multiple shadows. That's the use of such artificial light in the engineered environment. It's demonic. It's all demonic. And that is also accomplishing light activity. So I just want to point that out. It is currently 9:25 a.m. The entity engaging in what is harassment. Okay, amplified audible activity by the demons that are walking in and out of their rooms. I'm outside documenting those demons at work. You'll see in the images, while they're closing their hotel doors, there's no earthquake under my feet. That's nothing that's going to be heard in my hotel room upstairs. That's nothing that's going to cause any sort of vibration, that sensational activity in the floors, including while they're walking. These are demons who are targeting in demonic ways. And they are all shown and proven to be targeting under a fake sun. And covering up that evidence that is already exposed for the world to witness doesn't change that. In fact, it is evidence of the government keeping the evidence under surveillance. All right, it is currently 9:26 a.m. at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, where the people of the state are engaged in monitoring me with the government. And the entity that's monitoring an American citizen is obsessed with that person, and obsessed with the demise of that person, obsessed with the genitalia of that person. These are demons that practice sexual perversion. They are engaged in what is like the demonic activity of what are sex rituals and this sex cult. That's what this entity is doing. This is demonic activity, and it is premised upon perverted sex acts, and it includes monitoring in a private space, such as a bathroom, for example. Okay, it is currently 9:26